Hi, this video will be a follow-up on the last video I did on our Ford Transit campervan conversion, and here I will do a little bit more detailed overview of the cabinet builds that I made. And as I mentioned very briefly in the previous video, the cabinets are made all from aluminum, and I will go through how I built them, what materials and accessories I used, and what methods I used for constructing the aluminum cabinets. So let's get inside. Okay, so this right here, these 25 by 25 millimeters aluminum square tubing is what I made all the cabinet frames from. So it was a continuous process of measuring inside the van and determining the size and the dimensions of the cabinet themselves. And piece by piece I started to cutting these in the appropriate lengths. And by using steel reinforced plastic ready-made corners and angles, I joined these together in the appropriate sections, and by doing so I constructed these cabinets and all different compartments and drawers. So for example, inside here you can see the tubings right here, and you have the corner sections in each corner here where the tubes meet, and that's how I made all the cabinet sections. The major kitchen and sink cabinet, the upper cabinets, the seating areas, as well as the above bed cabinet sections. So it was a process of measuring as you go and cutting a few pieces up and joining them together with the ready-made sections for the corners. And when that was done, I started to measure the aluminum panels and determining how big the drawers and the hatches, the cabinet doors were to be, and all other bits and pieces on the different parts of the cabinet sections and the seating area. So it was quite a tedious process, but once you get the hang of it, it's quite straightforward and very easy as long as you have the proper tools for doing the job. And I have made a few similar types of builds before. I did one for my previous owned Land Rover Defender 110, a small minimalistic interior camping unit for the Defender, and I've made a few more of the exactly same ones for other Defenders. And I've also made a custom camper build for a pop-top roof Defender 110. So the process of doing these kind of builds are quite familiar to me, and I have learned the hard way of how to do it and how not to do it. And one of the major pain points in my experience when doing these builds are in particular the drawers right here. And it's quite difficult to get the right measurements for making the foldings or the bendings in the sheet alu material to become a proper width to fit inside the drawer sections, and especially combined with the sliders. So there are very small tolerances. If you're more than one or two, a couple of millimeters off in any direction, the drawer sections won't fit. They will be either too thin or too narrow. So it's quite a headache to get these exactly right, so they will fit. But I managed to construct the drawers quite okay without having to redo it all too many times, so it got quite okay in my opinion. So to summarize the process, it's first a matter of constructing the frame from these 25 by 25 aluminum square tubes and join them together with the ready-made corner sections. So once I have measured everything, every panel, and made the proper blueprints in a 2D computer program, I will order everything laser cut and have them ready-made, and it's only a matter of gluing everything and drilling the holes and join everything together with rivets. So that's about it on the construction. And obviously when all the cabinets are done and made, all the drawers are finished and the cabinet doors, I hand everything over to a car paint shop to have everything paint coated in my preferred color. Obviously the doors, the cabinet doors and the drawers are painted by themselves, and then I attach them with these hinges and also attach the cabinet door locks like so. Like I said, it's quite a tedious process of making them, and the tolerances are very small. You have to get everything exactly right, otherwise you have to redo some panels and redraw them, obviously, which I have done quite a number of times. But once everything is done and completed, I think the result looks very clean and very good. And the two, in my opinion, main advantages to this kind of build in aluminum instead of wood and plywood and that kind of materials is one, the walls of the cabinet are very thin, so you don't have to steal cargo space in the van or in the cabinets by having unnecessarily thick walls of the cabinet themselves. So a normal type of plywood in a wall of the cabinet build might be something as thick as 20 millimeters, and these are only 2 millimeters, so they are extremely thick when compared to wood-based cabinet builds. So lightweight and thin walls of the cabinets, so they don't take up unnecessary space inside the van, which everybody who have made a camper van conversion knows that the inside living space is very, very precious. So that's the two main reasons why I like to do these in aluminum instead of the normal wood-based builds that you see quite often. If I were to mention potential drawbacks on metal-based materials, aluminum, is that they get obviously quite cold in the winter time. So when winter camping in this van, the surface areas of the cabinets and seating areas are quite cold to the feel. But along with the diesel heater we have installed on board, I don't see it as a particularly big problem. But still, it's something that you might need to keep in mind when selecting your material of choice when making these builds. So before wrapping this video up, I'm going to show you some close-ups of the different sections of the cabinets, the upper cabinets, and the seating storage compartment areas that I built, to give you some inspiration of how you might decide to build your van if you're on the process of doing so. Okay, so here we have the upper cabinet above the kitchen area. The hatches open like so and stay open with a bracket on the side. And here we have the above bed cabinet section on the feet section of the bed, so we don't get our head bashed when waking up in the middle of the night. So I decided to make these without cabinet doors, so only these elastic cords covering the fronts to keep the interior stored clothing and blankets, etc. inside without falling out. And we only store soft goods inside this cabinet section, so there's no heavy or hard items that might fall out when driving. You've seen it in the last video, but here are the storage space that holds the porta potty underneath the main seating area. The outlet for the diesel heater under the small storage space that also holds the water heater as well as the white gas tank for the stove. Bit of a close-up on the drawers, and we have the storage compartment underneath the cabinet top right here. The storage compartment under the main seating area from another angle, with the fold-down table with access from the outside of the van. So in my humble opinion, I think this method and materials that I used for building the cabinet and the storage compartment areas of the van is a great way of keeping the van as light as possible, and while doing so maintaining the proper road handling of the van and lessen the fuel consumption. And number three, keeping as much space left inside the van for all the adventure gear that you want to carry along. So this is a good way of accomplishing all that, and number one is obviously keeping down the weight as low as possible. So like I said, I hope you got some inspiration on how to make your cabinet builds, and I must also say that it's not nearly as difficult as it may seem, as long as you have the proper tools for the job and patience for making the build. So although this kind of build has a few downsides, I do recommend it, and I do think the positives outweigh the negatives. So I can highly recommend this type of build if you haven't done it already. So that's what I wanted to show you on the details of the cabinet construction and how I decided to make it. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. I will post more van videos in the future, and also don't hesitate to leave a comment on what you would like to see in regards to the van conversion in future videos. So thank you for watching, and I see you in the next video. Bye.